She smiled as she handed me the final guest list. And right there, tucked between names of friends and cousins, was the man who ruined my life. That's when I knew. The wedding was over. My name is Marcus Hale. I'm 34 years old, and 2 weeks ago, I walked away from the woman I thought I'd marry because she invited the man who ruined my life to our wedding. But this wasn't just a petty grudge, and it wasn't about forgiveness or letting go. This was betrayal in its purest form. To understand what that name meant and why this decision shattered everything, I have to take you back a few years. Back to the brother who destroyed me. Braden isn't my biological brother. He's my stepbrother. We met when I was 10, right after my mom remarried. At first, he seemed harmless, just another quiet kid, same age as me, always watching from the corner of the room. But there was something in his silence. Something sharp, like he was always calculating. I didn't understand it then, but Braden didn't want a brother. He wanted a rival. And worse, he wanted to win. It started with small things. My mom would praise my grades, and the next week Braden would miraculously ace a test he never studied for. I mentioned a book I liked, and suddenly he'd be quoting it in front of guests like he discovered it first. My mom and stepdad acted like it was cute, like we were pushing each other to be better. But I could feel it. This wasn't motivation. This was warfare. When I turned 15, everything came to a head. I had finally carved out something of my own, a small group of friends, a weekend job at a local repair shop, and a long-shot dream of studying engineering at Georgia Tech. For once, I felt like I had a path. But Braden couldn't stand it. One night, I came home from work to find my laptop open on the dining table, the one I used for my scholarship applications. My mom and stepdad were standing over it, furious. Someone had printed out fake messages and screenshots from an anonymous account I'd supposedly created, trashing teachers, mocking classmates, even writing slurs. None of it was mine, but the documents were laid out like evidence at a trial. I tried to explain, but no one listened. Braden stood in the corner, arms crossed, just watching me sink. I lost my spot at the youth engineering program the next week. My guidance counselor recommended behavioral counseling instead of college prep. And Braden? He took my place in the program 3 months later. By the time I was 19, I left that house for good. Moved 2 states away, slept on a friend's couch, worked double shifts to put myself through trade school. I never spoke to Braden again. I never intended to. Fast forward 10 years, I was finally stable. I ran a small but successful HVAC firm in Atlanta. I had friends, peace, and after years of avoiding anything serious, I met someone who made me believe in more. Her name was Rachel. She was quick-witted, ambitious, and had a laugh that made me forget how heavy life could be. We met at a home renovation expo. She was a project manager. I was speaking on a contractor panel. We argued over insulation brands, then had coffee, and the rest just clicked. 2 years later, I proposed under the big oak tree in Piedmont Park. She said yes through happy tears. For once, I thought I'd finally escaped the wreckage of my past. I thought I'd built something that Braden couldn't touch. I was wrong. When Rachel and I first started planning the wedding, I told her one thing, one non-negotiable. Braden is not invited, I said. He's not family to me. He's a threat to my sanity. I don't want him anywhere near our life. She didn't ask why. She just nodded. Okay, she said. Of course. That's why it felt like a gunshot when I saw his name on the final guest list. I stared at it for a long time, unsure if it was some sick typo. But no, there it was. Braden Morris, confirmed RSVP. I looked at her. Why is his name on here? Rachel hesitated, eyes darting down. I talked to him, she said softly. A few months ago. I wanted to understand your side of the story better. The air left my lungs. You reached out to him? I asked. She nodded, and her voice got faster like she was trying to spin it into something righteous. I thought, maybe if I heard from him too, maybe there's healing to be done. Marcus, he said he's changed, that he regrets everything. I laughed, not because it was funny, because I couldn't believe she thought this was noble. Did he tell you how he tried to ruin my life? That I had to start over from nothing because of him? Rachel flinched. He said you two had misunderstandings, that you both were young, and that maybe with time... No, I snapped. Don't do this. Don't turn this into some sentimental redemption arc. Her expression hardened. He's your brother. No, I said coldly. He's not. That night we fought until neither of us had the energy to speak. I slept on the couch. The silence between us felt like another person in the room. And then came the final blow. 3 days later, I came home early from work and found Rachel sitting at the kitchen table, looking like she'd been crying for hours. I invited him, she said before I could speak. I already mailed the invitation weeks ago. I thought maybe if he showed up and apologized. I walked out. I didn't pack a bag. I didn't slam the door. I just left, because I knew then, if she could ignore the one boundary I drew in permanent ink, we were already done. I drove for hours that night. No destination. Just me, the hum of the engine, and the kind of numb silence you only feel when your heart's been yanked out of your chest. By midnight, I found myself parked in front of a 24-hour diner off I-75. I sat there for what felt like forever before finally dragging myself inside, ordering black coffee I wouldn't drink. I didn't call anyone. I didn't even check my phone, because deep down, I already knew what the messages would say: confusion, panic, maybe even guilt. But none of it would change the fact that the person I loved had gone behind my back. It wasn't about Braden anymore. It was about Rachel deciding she knew better than me. The next day, I stayed in a cheap motel. I didn't go home. I didn't answer Rachel's calls. I just lay there, staring at the stained ceiling tiles, wondering how everything had gone so wrong so fast. By evening, the voicemail started coming in. "Marcus, please call me. I didn't mean to hurt you. I thought this could bring closure. Can we talk? Please." I deleted them all. Then the text started, not just from Rachel, from her mom, her sister, her best friend. "I don't understand why you're overreacting like this. Braden said he apologized. What more do you want? You're throwing away something beautiful over some grudge?" And then came the one that broke me. "You're not the only one with pain, Marcus. Maybe you should try forgiving for once." I turned my phone off after that. By the time I showed up to work Monday morning, I looked like hell. I hadn't shaved. I hadn't slept. I was halfway through my second energy drink by 9 a.m. My assistant, Jordan, took one look at me and didn't ask questions, just slid a cup of actual coffee across the desk and said, "Let me know if you need me to cancel anything." For a moment, I just sat there, staring at the screen. Then I opened my calendar and started deleting everything wedding-related. Venue walkthrough. Canceled. Catering tasting. Gone. Final suit fitting. Deleted. Each click felt like peeling away a layer of skin. The only person I told was my cousin Troy. He'd been more like a brother to me growing up. No competition, no judgment, just support. I called him that afternoon and said, "I need to crash for a few days." He didn't even ask why, just texted me his door code. When I got there, he had two things waiting: a cold beer and an unopened pack of basketball cards, a dumb little tradition we kept from middle school. "You want to talk about it?" he asked. I shook my head. He nodded. "Cool. Then we won't." Over the next week, Rachel kept trying. Texts, emails, voicemails. At one point, I came back from supply, run to find a note under Troy's door. "I love you. I made a mistake. Please come home." But it wasn't just about coming home. It was about what home even meant now. How do you go back to someone who doesn't respect your boundaries? How do you trust them to protect your peace when they already broke it? Then came the pressure from my own side. My mom called one night. I let it go to voicemail. She tried again, then again. Finally, I picked up. "Marcus," she said softly. "I heard what happened." I waited. I know you're hurt, but maybe there's a reason Rachel reached out. Maybe Braden really is trying to change. I felt my jaw tighten. "Ma," I said, "he didn't change. He just got smarter about how he manipulates people." She sighed. "Can't you just hear him out? That did it. I lost my shot at college because of him. I had to rebuild my life from nothing because of him. And now Rachel went behind my back for him. And you want me to sit at a table and sing Kumbaya with this guy?" Silence. "I'm sorry," she finally whispered. I want our family to be okay." I almost laughed. "What family?" I said. Braden made sure that word didn't mean anything a long time ago. A few days later, Troy came into the living room while I was zoning out on the couch. "I know you don't want to hear this," he said, "but you need to go back and talk to her. Not to fix things, just to say what you need to say." I wanted to argue, but deep down I knew he was right. I couldn't move forward until I closed that door myself. So, the next morning, I went back to the apartment. Rachel was there. She opened the door and froze, eyes wide. She looked like she hadn't slept either. "Marcus," she breathed. "Oh my God." I stepped inside, and for a moment we just stared at each other. "I'm not here to fight," I said. "I just need to say something." She nodded slowly. We sat at the kitchen table, the same one where we used to eat dinner and laugh at terrible reality TV. It felt like sitting across from a stranger. "You broke my trust," I said. "I didn't care if the flowers were late or if your aunt didn't like the food. None of that mattered. But I told you about Brayden. I told you what he did to me, and you still let him in." She started crying. "I thought I was doing the right thing," she whispered. "I thought if you saw him again, if he apologized, it would help." I shook my head. "You weren't helping me. You were trying to fix a story you didn't understand. You wanted a resolution that didn't exist." Her voice cracked. "I didn't want to start our life with that kind of bitterness between you and your family." "That bitterness is survival," I said. "I built my life on healing from what he did. You don't get to rewrite that." She cried harder, but I didn't reach for her, because I'd already reached so many times. And now I was done. "I still love you," she whispered. "I know," I said, "but love without respect isn't enough." I stood up, my voice shaking. "I'm calling off the wedding. Officially." Rachel sobbed. "Is there nothing I can do?" I paused, hand on the doorknob. "You could have believed me the first time I told you." And then I left. After I walked out of that apartment, I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't punch a wall or throw something across the room like you see in movies. I just drove, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel lost. Hurt? Yes. Exhausted? Absolutely. But lost? No, because for the first time, I wasn't questioning whether I was overreacting. I wasn't explaining myself. I wasn't begging someone to see why my pain mattered. I had drawn a line, and I had stuck to it. That night, I ended up back at Troy's place. He took one look at me, handed me a glass of bourbon, and didn't ask anything. We sat on the back porch, listening to the cicadas buzz and the occasional train rumble in the distance. I sipped the drink slowly, letting the silence settle. After a long pause, I said, "I called off the wedding." Troy didn't flinch, just nodded once. "Good." I exhaled. Over the next few weeks, I tried to reclaim my life. Not the life Rachel and I planned, but the one I put on pause for her. For the idea of a perfect love story. I picked up more work. Took on a few difficult HVAC projects I'd been putting off. Work was the only thing that made sense. Wires, pipes, schematics. No gray areas. No betrayal. My clients didn't ask why I looked 10 pounds thinner or why I was zoning out mid-sentence. They just handed me their problems and trusted I'd fix them. And I did. There was something healing in that. Then the call started again, this time from my parents. I ignored the first three, then the fourth. Finally, one night, I let it ring through and picked up. "Marcus," my mom said, breathless, "I know you don't want to talk, but we need to see you. Please." I didn't say yes, but I didn't say no either. That weekend, I drove out to my childhood home, a beige one-story house in a quiet suburb where the hedges were always trimmed, but nothing ever felt truly alive. As I stepped through the door, I braced myself. And sure enough, Brayden was there. He stood when he saw me. His hair was shorter now, cleaner. He wore a sweater like he was auditioning for AJ.Crew catalog. Still pretending. "Hey," he said. I didn't reply. My mom jumped in quickly. "He just wants to apologize, Marcus. That's all." I looked at her, then at Brayden. He gave a rehearsed sigh. "Look, I know I messed up. We were kids. I was angry. I didn't know how to handle all the attention you got." "Stop," I said sharply. "This isn't a therapy session." He blinked. "I didn't come here to listen to you justify what you did. You sabotaged my future. You wrecked my credibility. You knew exactly what you were doing. But I was..." "No," I cut in. "You weren't a confused teenager. You were cruel. You lied. You fabricated things. And you didn't just get me in trouble. You made sure I had nothing left to fall back on." Silence. Then I looked at my parents. "You've been begging me to forgive him for years. But here's what none of you seem to get. Forgiveness isn't owed. Especially not to someone who still doesn't understand what they did." My mom wiped her eyes. "We just want the family back together." I smiled bitterly. That family died the day you believed his lies over my truth. Then I turned to Braden. I don't hate you, I said, but I don't trust you, and I never will. And with that, I walked out. For the last time. That drive home was quiet. No music, no calls, just the sound of tires on pavement and the hum of peace, the kind you only feel when you stop carrying other people's guilt. That night, I slept better than I had in months. The weeks that followed were still hard. There were moments I missed Rachel so much I thought I'd cave. When I'd see a recipe she'd love or hear a song we used to dance to in the kitchen. But then I'd remember how she looked at me the night she defended Braden, how she doubted my pain. And it reminded me that love without loyalty is a trap. Love without respect is a cage. I started going out more, not partying, just living. Small things, grabbing dinner with old friends, hiking local trails, helping Troy build a new deck out back. I even signed up for a weekend welding course, something I always wanted to do, but never had time for during the relationship. For the first time in years, I was building things just for me. And then, one Saturday at a hardware store, I bumped into someone. Literally. She dropped a bag of screws. I bent to help pick them up. Her name was Alyssa. She was a structural engineer. Smart, no nonsense, a little sarcastic in the best way. We ended up getting coffee that afternoon. I didn't tell her everything. Not yet. But I told her I liked honest people. And she smiled and said, "That's the bare minimum. But it's a good start. I don't know where things with Alyssa will go. I'm not in a rush. But I do know this. I'd rather be alone with peace than partnered with someone who doesn't protect it. I'd rather walk away from love than stay where I'm not heard. And I'd rather have one friend who respects my story than a whole family that rewrites it." Braden may have taken a lot from me. And Rachel? She meant well. Maybe she even loved me. But in the end, she didn't love me in the way I needed. That's okay, because I finally love myself enough to say no. No to fake apologies. No to forced reconciliation. No to rewriting my own trauma to make others comfortable. And yes, to space, to peace, to freedom. The life I have now is quieter than I imagined, but it's mine, and that is enough. If you've ever had to walk away from someone who didn't respect your boundaries, or if this story hit close to home, let me know in the comments. And if you found this story meaningful, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stick around for more. Your support means everything.